For over 5 years, the soft-on-crime former Attorney General personally oversaw the worst explosion in random attacks and social chaos in the history of this province. Under repeated questioning by this opposition in the spring, after first denying and minimizing the rise in violent attacks, the then Attorney General hired consultants to tell him how to do his job. Now, the NDP's latest move was to hide this consultant's report by releasing it on a Saturday morning of a long weekend, hoping that no one was going to pay attention to the damning conclusions in that failed catch-and-release program the former Attorney General was operating. Look at what's happening in communities every day in this province. We've got young women with strollers being chased and having bottles thrown at them. We've got a young man in Yaletown stabbed to death by a random stranger. We've got violent assaults taking place just outside of these legislative buildings. And that doesn't include the thousands and thousands of cases that go unreported every week in this province. This is what the probation officer said on page 76 of that consultant's report, and I quote, "People are being released into community on bail that definitely pose a significant public safety risk. I am talking about machete attacks, attempted murders. These people are being released." End of quote. So my question to the Attorney General is, how many more innocent people have to be assaulted before the NDP abandoned the former Attorney General's catch and release program?
Attorney General.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would thank the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for this important question. In her remarks earlier today, the member for Surrey South properly acknowledged the complexity of policing in a modern society, for which I'm grateful. The member said that somehow we have hidden, to use his term, the consultant's report. Let me review what happened, Mr. Speaker. We released the report on October 1st, having promised to do so by the end of the month. But we gave the early acknowledgement of the recommendations and a summary of the report's 28 recommendations in advance of that, so people could be prepared to address those. We have already indicated that we will be adopting 3 of those recommendations, and of course, since there's 28, we have a lot more work to do. Mr. Speaker, this is a serious problem, but I think to use cliches such as catch and release is simply not doing justice to the complexity and the severity of the problem. Mr. Speaker, that is not the case, and the member should know better. Under the federal Criminal Code and under the Charter of Rights, bail is a constitutional right, and the Criminal Code is, of course, passed by the federal order of government in our country. We have increased the budget under our watch of the Crown Counsel's office by almost a third, whereas in the last year of the last government's budget, they increased the budget of Crown Counsel by less than 1%. Mr. Speaker, we get it. We want to fix it, and we're going to work harder with our partners at the local government to make it right.
Leader of the Official Opposition, supplemental.
Well, there you have it, Mr. Speaker. Just as in healthcare, first, blame the federal government. Second, talk about how much more money they're spending. And third, don't talk about the results that people are seeing in communities every single day. The fact of the matter is, after 5 years of the former Attorney General's catch and release program, we've got chaos in communities from Abbotsford to Terrace. In Vancouver alone, 40 individuals responsible for 6,385 police files in 1 year alone. The downtown east side described in that very consultant's report as, quote, completely lawless. Criminals emboldened by the lack of enforcement of this government, and 4 violent random attacks in Vancouver every single day. Most recently, a young woman in Vancouver followed into her apartment, thrown on the ground and assaulted by a young man just the other day. So the comments of the Attorney General are not very comforting for the people that are experiencing this every single day. And the Vancouver police said they recommended that that man that assaulted that young woman just the other day be held in custody. But instead, he was released again with conditions. And if he violates those conditions, he faces no consequences. So typical. When will this Attorney General and this NDP stop ignoring victims of crime and acknowledge that the former Attorney General's catch and release program is not working for communities in every part of the province?